Hello, my name is Neel and I welcome you all to the latest episode of Around the World in 7 days. The entire world is aware of China's expansionist policy. Whether it is a country in Asia or any other continent, China is always trying to make inroads there. China's intrusion in India's neighboring countries is a testament to this. Due to this, India faces many challenges in its neighborhood. China has already been presenting challenges to India in its neighboring countries like Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives, and Myanmar. China is trying to reduce India's influence in the region by gradually increasing its investment in these countries. In recent times, Chinese intrusion attempts in Bhutan have been generating new troubles for India. You must have heard about the Doklam controversy. In fact, there are border disputes between Bhutan and China in several areas in the west and the north. These disputes are decades old. Doklam is just one of several such disputes. But now, there are murmurs that Bhutan is eager to have a border deal with China in these areas. In an interview with a Belgian newspaper, Bhutan's Prime Minister Lote Tshering said that in the coming days, Bhutan and China will end the dispute in some border areas. However, he also mentioned that Bhutan alone cannot solve this problem. Pointing towards India, he said that all three countries, that is India, China, and Bhutan, are equal and none of them is big or small. However, the developing course of agreement between China and Bhutan has only added to India's worries. The reason for this is that areas we are talking about here are close to the borders of India. It is a tri-junction where the borders of all three countries meet. In such a situation, India's concerns about border security have increased. On the other hand, Bhutan is a very close neighbor of India and does not have any diplomatic relations with China. India has been providing financial assistance to Bhutan from time to time. In such a situation, it is very difficult for Bhutan to take decisions without the consent of India. But still, the ongoing efforts to negotiate border disputes between Bhutan and China can be viewed through varied perspectives. That's why our today's episode will feature an analysis of the Bhutan China border issue. We will see how old the border dispute between China and Bhutan is and what lies in the resolution of this dispute. We will also try to see this issue from India's perspective. But first of all, let's understand the area at the center of the dispute. The border disputes between China and Bhutan have been in existence since 1984. These include Doklam and the India-China-Bhutan tri-junction to the west of Bhutan, which extends over 495 square kilometers. Apart from this, there is Zakarlung and Samlung Valley. In recent years, China has also claimed the East Sakting area of Bhutan. Bhutan shares a border of over 400 kilometers with China, and two countries have held 24 rounds of border talks since 1984 to solve these disputes. In October 2021, the foreign ministers of China and Bhutan had a meeting through video conferencing. In this, a three-step roadmap agreement was signed to resolve the border disputes going between the two countries for many years. This agreement took place 4 years after the Doklam dispute. Actually, Doklam is among the many disputed areas that lie between India, Bhutan, and China. Both Bhutan and China have their respective claims on this place, while India has always been a supporter of Bhutan. This is the reason when the Doklam crisis happened about 6 years ago, it was not Bhutan but India that was fighting China. Even though it is not the territory of India, India had to intervene owing to many reasons. Doklam is very important for India in terms of security and strategy. India's Siliguri Corridor lies in this area. It is about 200 kilometers long and 60 kilometers wide, connecting the rest of India with its northeastern states. It is just 50 kilometers away from Doklam. If China becomes successful in building a road in this area, then it will have easy access to the Siliguri corridor. Therefore, any kind of pressure from China in this area can pose a threat to this corridor, which is also known as chicken neck. In strategic terms, chicken neck refers to an area which is weak in terms of structure but is crucial for a country from a strategic point of view. A pertinent question is whether Bhutan is facing any kind of problem in establishing equal relations with China. Actually, for a country like Bhutan, being landlocked naturally creates complications. But if that country is sliced between two big and powerful countries, then the situation becomes even more difficult. Being present between India and China, Bhutan is witnessing a similar scenario. However, of the two countries, Bhutan has very close relations with India. India has been providing economic and military aid worth billions to Bhutan. Therefore, Bhutan is in a dilemma as to how to enhance its relations with China. Now, since Bhutan is a small country landlocked from China on one side, it would never want to completely alienate itself from Chinese equation. Therefore, Bhutan also wants to resolve its border disputes with China and have an economic relationship with it. Bhutan doesn't want to get into such a situation where it faces the threat of being viewed with or against either India or China. It is worth mentioning that India and Bhutan signed a special treaty in 1949. The purpose of that treaty was to address the security concerns of India and to ensure the security of the international borders with India. However, about a decade and a half ago, this treaty was amended and Bhutan was given more freedom in foreign policy decisions and military purchases. The thought behind this move was that Bhutan as a country should get enough freedom for its development and talks should proceed keeping in view its sensitivities. This is the reason, despite being worried about Bhutan's growing closeness with China, India is not hindering these developments. However, India will also have to see that Bhutan is not in a rush to establish relations with China. India should see whether Bhutan is firmly presenting its case and claim on Doklam or not. India should be in constant touch with Bhutan and keep an eye on its talks with China so that it would be easier for it to decide on future strategies. That was all for today's discussion. Let's note down this practice question based on today's story. The question is, how will the agreement on the border dispute between China and Bhutan increase India's border security concerns? Analyze.